It is 10 o'clock. We will go ahead and get started. Councilmember Shelton, do you mind opening us up in a word of prayer?
Okay. The gracious Father and everlasting God, as once again we come thanking you for this glorious day. Thank you for all the blessings that you store upon us each and every day. Oh God, we ask you to be in the midst of this meeting right now in the mighty special way. We ask all these things in your name and for your sake we say, amen.
Amen.
Amen. All right. If you're not talking at this point, let's mute. Item 1, consider the award of the contract of Civic Plus website development mass notification. Ms. Sanchez.
Good morning, Mayor. Good morning, Council. So approval of this agenda item would award a contract to Civic Plus as the city's new website vendor, replacing Granicus. And several staff members, including the city manager's office, the communications department, and IT, have reviewed this item and recommend it as well. Civic Plus has the ability to bundle all website development, interfaces, portals, and software systems. And they also offer a mass notification system, which will replace the city's expiring contract with Everbridge. So it's really just bundling a lot of different things that we're paying for separately. The communications department, along with the parks department, downtown Odessa, Keep Odessa Beautiful, and the police department met for several months, kind of going through different vendors, and all really kind of just decided on this one. Civic Plus has a lot of experience working with municipalities, including our neighbors to the east and some people in Buda, Abilene. So they do offer a great product. This budgeted purchase will be made through the GSA schedule contract, which meets procurement rules, and it will be for a 5-year contract. Now, going with the mass notification system that we have in place, we do work with the county with that. So if we do make this purchase, we will make sure that we include the local government, including the multi-jurisdictional EOC, to provide them access to the emergency notification system like they have right now.
Okay, questions?
I do have a question. Thanks, Devin. And I've read through it, and I'd just like to know more about the mass notification system. I know that we've been saying we have one, but I'm not sure how this one will work. I know coming up to the anniversary of the August 31st, we didn't have a way to get out to everybody. Will this help in that situation, or how will this work?
Yes, absolutely. So the mass notification system that we have right now, Everbridge, you have to opt into it. And it's a little bit awkward to navigate and to find out exactly how to work with that. So that was a big concern with me whenever we were going through different vendors and trying to find someone to really fit our mold. With Civic Pluses, it's called Civic Ready. And it's still something that you have to opt into. The citizen does have to take that step to sign up for those notifications, but it's more seamless in signing up for it. Instead of having to really search for it, we can add a button on our homepage that makes it super easy for somebody to find and navigate and click and sign up for it, because that's very important to me too, to make sure that it's as easy for everybody as possible.
Okay, that notification, would it come across on your phone, on your, you have to have like a text message, or would it?
Yes, ma'am. So you can sign up for different ways to be notified. Text message is definitely one, phone calls, and email as well.
Oh, okay. Okay, that's good.
And I believe we would also have the ability to have it on our homepage on our website if there is a notification that is going out. There's like a banner at the top of our website that we can add. So it would make things a lot more accessible and easy. Even if you're not opted into that messaging system, you still have a way to get that message.
That would be great.
Yes, ma'am.
Great. If this is approved, what is our timeline? What are we looking at?
So our contract with Granicus is up in November. So we would need to get started on it pretty quickly with the development. We've worked with that team to make sure that things are in development rapidly. We don't want to have any downtime between when our contract with Granicus ends and then when it would start with Civic Plus.
Okay, great.
Any other questions? Is everybody good with it?
I was talking, but I was muted. Sorry.
Devin, this is Peggy. On your on the mass notification system, will we have like a broad base, maybe on water bills, every way we can communicate with people so that they will sign up for this?
Yes, ma'am, absolutely. So, we spoke with Civic Plus about how we would need to market that, how that would need to be something that we get out there. I don't know if we could do something on water bills, but definitely using all of the portals of communication that we do have to make sure that there's a big push to get people signed up for it and opting in.
So it's not really an app that they go get, it's something that they sign up with through our city website?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
But we could probably put it on the app.
That's what I was going to say. Could we probably look at making it an app or putting it on an
Or
app
no, just put it on our app.
or something? Yeah.
Because people are really accustomed to apps. That doesn't scare
Yeah.
anybody anymore.
Yes, ma'am.
Except me.
I can check and see if they have an app. That's something that we discussed. It would make, I personally love apps. It makes my life easier. So it's definitely something we can explore, but we are wanting to make sure that we push out getting people to opt into this mass notification system in every way that we can.
Sounds great. Kevin, thank you all for your work.
Thank you.
Item 2, consider the purchase of one Zoll cardiac monitor defibrillator. Chief Huber.
Hey, Mayor,
Yes.
before Chief starts, I just wanted to point out, typically you wouldn't see purchases of under 50,000, but as it relates to the CARES dollars, we thought it was important that you see where we're spending those ticket items. And what you'll see is a list of things that the fire department felt very strongly they needed to have in order to continue to provide service, certainly in light of COVID-19 and to help protect the guys.
Michael, we really appreciate that. That way it keeps council up to date.
Yes, sir.
Good morning, Mayor, City Council, Mr. Morrell. Yes, thank you, Michael. We currently have 23 Zoll X Series cardiac monitor defibrillators. We have one for every frontline apparatus. We are missing one. And when we saw these CARES dollars come through, Mr. Marrero and city management said, what do we need? And I gave him about 100 things and we narrowed it down to quite a few. But this really, this is a need that we can place on one of our EUVs to help with our cardiac monitoring or treating of our COVID patients. All of our patients with any cardiac arrest, chest pain, STEMI symptoms, and this will get us back up to speed. This will have 12 lead capability, which will keep us on that Gold Plus award with American Heart Association, which we are the only one of the Pick 6 that has. We're very proud of that. And this was a good bid for that piece of equipment, and it is compatible with all the other equipment we are using at Odessa Fire Rescue and compatible with Medical Center Hospital and ORMC for transmitting our 12 leads.
Okay, are there any questions from council? Okay. Move to the next item. My screen disappeared. There it is. Consider the purchase of 9 automatic CRP devices. Just Chief Huber.
Yes, we very much appreciate that we were able to purchase 4 of these already with the limited funds that we had. This is a huge advantage for our Odessa Fire Rescue firefighters and paramedics. This does allow them to have some social distancing with that cardiac arrest patient. This takes one more person out of that line of contamination. We don't know when all of these patients are suspicious. Sometimes we don't know that they're positive COVID patients until we have transported them to the ER and we get that positive confirmation back. This is a huge advantage, technology advantage. A lot of other fire department EMS agencies are using these, and our return of spontaneous circulation rate goes up, our survivability rates go up, and it's a phenomenal piece of equipment, and this will put one on every frontline ambulance. So we're excited about that, and we appreciate your consideration on this.
Chief, just a question. With the addition of new units when we get the new fire stations, will we have enough for that one?
We will not. We discussed that at length, and we thought we will try to tackle those funds when we get those new pieces of equipment, when we build that new station, if that's what you're asking, Mayor.
Yeah, that's what I was asking.
Yeah, I think we're looking at least 12 to 18 months out on that. And so we were going to tackle that at that time.
Okay.
Mayor, if you remember, these funds have to be expended by the end of the year. That's why we did.
Yeah.
Okay.
How quick, once approved, how quickly will you be able to get them in, Chief Harvey?
Both of these vendors, Zoll and Stryker, say 2 to 4 weeks at the most. So yeah, they're working very well with us on that.
Good.
Okay. Any other questions? Okay, item 4, consider the purchase of uniforms for OFR personnel. Chief Alvarez.
Good morning, Mayor, Council. Yes, this item is to purchase uniforms for our personnel using the CARES funding. Last year, we went to a new uniform, the fire retardant, the FRs uniforms, and so with this increased COVID calls that we're running on, our personnel are starting to having to use these uniforms more because we only bought 4 sets last year. And that's what we're currently in right now. And so they've come to the operations chief and they asked us, Chief, can we get some more uniforms? And so we're asking to purchase 2 pairs of pants and then 2 extra T-shirts for our personnel. So when they come in, they can, some of them, what they're doing is when they run on a COVID call, they'll just change uniforms. And, last week we did our fire station inspections last week, and you could see them. I mean, they're even taking their boots off and using, some are using sandals, Crocs, whatever, just to take their boots off and everything. So this will add and help with their uniforms.
Okay, question?
Yes, sir.
Hey, Mayor, I've got a question.
Yes, sir.
Let's go back up and Chief, kind of explain this. Why don't we, on item 3, request 10 devices and spend the money now? That way we'll have it available when we do get the new fire station open.
Tom, this is Michael. Maybe I can try and address that. So I think the approach that we took is what can we use by the end of the year? Because if we go back to what the CARES money dictates, is that has to be utilized by the end of the year. So it doesn't necessarily give us authority to make future purchases, if you will, but purchases that the staff can use at this time, and certainly by the end of the year.
This will outfit every one of our frontline ambulances, right?
That is correct. Yes, sir.
That is correct. That we currently have, that this will outfit every one of our frontline ambulances. Yes, sir.
Councilman Sprouse, one of the things.
Maybe a good idea to buy 10 and put one of them in the back for some, another one of the ambulances. I don't know. I don't know the details of that.
I think Mr. Morrell was correct, Councilman Sprouse, is that I think the CARES funds is very limited. It's very restrictive on what you can purchase. And one of the future purchases is not one of them that we could use, because we had discussed that as well.
Okay. I'm in. Thank you.
Any questions on item 4 for the uniforms? Okay, we'll move to item 5. Consider the purchase of a Glide Scope Pro.
Yes, sir.
Can you tell us what this is?
Yes, sir. So a Glide Scope. So what we have right now is it's called conducting an innovation. And what we use right now is a laryngoscope with a blade. And so what this does is anytime we do an innovation, this will allow us to not get so close to the patient as you're intubating a patient. And it allows you to see that you're actually going through the trachea when you're inserting the intubation tube in their throat. So this is one of the things that we looked at, and it's very good because it reduces the possibility of any type of disease anytime you're doing this type of innovation. And the thing about it is, anytime you're doing innovation, you're really close to the patient, and so this will really make it easier for us, and it's going to be even better for the patient that we stay clear from direct contact with the patient while we're performing this procedure. So this does fall within the guidelines of the CARES Act, and so this will be the first time ever in the history of this department that we've ever had a GladeScope. So this is really going to help us.
Great. Any questions?
I do. Is this purchase for one or is this multiple?
No, ma'am. This will outfit all our frontline ambulances.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
I thought, holy moly, if that's for one and it's 1,000, that's a
Can you show us how it works on Councilmember White?
No.
I'm sure she doesn't.
No. Thank you. I'll get you back.
Any other questions? All right. Item 6, consider an interlocal agreement with Ector County for division of 2020 JAG funds.
Good morning, Council, Mayor. If you don't mind, I'll do items 6 and 7 together because they are absolutely related. First, consider resolution authorizing the police department to apply for and accept our JAG grant, the Bureau of Justice Assistance grant program. We've been part of this program for many years. I would say at least 10 years. And over that time, this has been very beneficial for us. This year, the total amount of the award is $65,370. Of that, we will keep $56,872, and we are required to give the Sheriff's Department $8,498. That is a requirement. That is not something we just do, which is why we also have the interlocal agreement with the county. That's part of this. We create that agreement so that we have that monetary split. I will say with a little frustration that this is down about $18,000 from last year. So that's gonna hurt a little bit. And this generally goes to help us fund equipment.
Okay. Question from the chief. Okay. Item 8, consider resolution to approval of the authorization for use of electronic signatures on TxDOT grants.
That's just very simple. Exactly what you read is what it is. It just allows us to use electronic signatures on our TxDOT STEP grant. The STEP grant is Selected Traffic Enforcement Program. We hit those hot spots in the city it's speeding, red lights, stop signs, DWIs now, and seatbelt enforcement. You guys approved the grant earlier in the year. This just allows us to use electronic signature for all the forms.
Makes sense. Item 9, consider the approval of 2021 Emergency Communication District budget.
Okay, every year the Emergency Communication District budget has to come before City Council, before the Ector County Commissioners Court, just for approval. The city doesn't fund this board at all. The county doesn't fund this board at all. I sit on the governing board. Basically, what you guys do is just make sure that you agree with everything on this. If not, we go back to the board and say there's, City Council had some issues. If you look at the budget, it's under budget every year. There's more income, more revenue than we spend. Basically, the job of this board is to bring the 911 calls from the telephone to dispatch. That's the purpose of the 911 board. All the equipment that's needed for that is administered by this board.
Okay. Questions?
Mayor, can I go back to the previous one that Chief Gerke was talking about in regards to electronic signature? Do we have? I mean, is that something that all departments could be approved on, or could through our bylaws where they don't have to come to us for that? I mean, it's a new way of doing things, of course, with the
Yes.
signatures and all. And so my question would be if there'll probably be other circumstances where it'd be needed. Are they going to have to come to us each time to have approval, or is there something that we can insert into the bylaws to allow that to take place?
Michael or Natasha, what do you think?
Well, Chief, correct me if I'm wrong. This is something that's very specific to this grant, correct?
Yes, it is.
Okay. And Dewey, in a lot of cases, we already use electronic signature on certain items. I don't know if I understand your question correctly. We're still going to want to bring some of these major grants and things to the council because I think you just need to see them. Typically, by the actions you take at those on those particular items, you will authorize myself, or in this case, maybe even the chief, in this particular case, to execute those documents. So you'll see them, but at the same time, you're also giving us the authorization to sign whatever documents we need, whether that's written or electronic.
Yes, again, it's more along the line of convenience for staff as such. Now, if this is a specific that has to have a specific approval for electronic signature, that'd be one thing. But I think in a conjunction with what we're looking at, maybe I'm talking about two different things. There's one thing as far as the approval. There'd be a different thing in regards to how that is properly executed, and that was all I was talking about. Is that if it is included in the bylaws or whatever it might be, that can be done. No different than having these type of meetings. You know, that's probably something within our bylaws within our city council that we can have WebEx type meetings and don't have to be face to face. Again, just something for probably legal more than anything.
Okay, well, we can certainly look at that, Dewey, and I'll just tell you that sometimes the agencies that we deal with want a written signature, but we also have already utilized in some cases electronic signatures as well.
Okay. Any other questions? Thank you, Chief Gerke.
Thank you.
Hey, Chief.
Item 10, consider bid award to Neil Pool for impound services. Marita.
Good morning, Mayor and Council. The item that you have before you that will come next week is a contract for the removal and disposal of junk vehicles. The current contract for a demolisher to remove and dispose of junk vehicles was executed in October of 2006. At that time, since that time, there's been some revisions to the documents the state requires, and the current demolisher has requested that the city start paying for the towing fees for the removal of the vehicles. With that request, we decided to go out for an RFP for services to remove our junk vehicles, and we only received one bid. It was from Neil Pool Wreckers, and they also want to charge for removal of the vehicles. The cost would be, towing costs would be based on the weight of the vehicles. We typically remove about 30 vehicles a year through the towing service, and most of the vehicles that we would remove would cost between $160 to $200 per vehicle. So we're looking at about a cost of about $6,000 a year to have our vehicles removed. And if you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer them.
Well, does
Marita,
this
I'm sorry. Go ahead, Peggy.
this actually, doesn't it say $2,000 on this thing? This award says 2,000, which
2,000.
wouldn't
Okay.
get very many vehicles.
No, that would only be like 10 vehicles. We typically do about 30 in a year.
So does this need to be changed?
This would need to be revised. Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Marita, so
Other questions?
currently, we are not paying, right?
Right. We've not been paying to have the vehicles removed. But the gentleman came to us a couple of months ago and wanted us to start paying the towing fees. Since that was not included in the contract we were operating under, we decided to go out for an RFP to see what we could get in response to the need to remove these vehicles.
Marita, do they get, okay, you take this vehicle over there do they contact the owner and say, your car's been picked up?
No,
If you
sir.
want it back? Okay.
No, sir. What happens when it's declared a junk vehicle and we remove it? At that point in time, it's no longer eligible to be used for anything other than they have to either scrap it or use it for parts or sell the metal. It cannot be put back on the road.
Oh, okay.
So
All right.
so Neil Pool or whoever we're using has been getting, how have they been benefit from it, from using the,
Yes,
from
what they would
scrapping it?
do. Yes, they would scrap it so they would have the use of the parts. They could sell the metal, and that's how they were benefiting from removing the vehicles. The gentleman told me that at what we were currently bringing them was really not usable for them for scrap for parts. So he wanted us to start paying the towing fees.
That doesn't sound like we have a choice anyway.
And they're the only one that responded, right?
Yes, Neil Pool was the only one that responded.
So the other vendor that had been doing that did not?
No, sir.
submit?
No, ma'am. I'm sorry. No, ma'am.
Huh. Okay.
He was not benefit from it because no cost.
Well, yeah, but if he was wanting to charge for the removal, I didn't know it.
Yeah.
That's
He
all
was-
right. I'm good with
He wasn't getting too much for scrap. That's why he probably stopped doing it.
Well, $160 a vehicle to, they have to use those big crane truck. I mean, it seems like this is a very reasonable price.
Most of the vehicles we remove are just, cars, are pickups. We don't get anything really heavy duty.
No, but I'm talking about the equipment they have to get to come move it, that they have to use.
Yes, ma'am.
So they go normally into the neighborhoods and pick up these cars, right?
Wherever they have been left, wherever they're at. In neighborhoods, we've got one in an alley right now.
Wow.
It can be, it can be on a vacant lot somewhere. It's
Okay.
just all over town.
Okay.
So when you bring this to council next week, it'll be 6,000 instead of 2?
Yes, we will amend that. Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Okay, any other questions? Okay, item 11, consider approval of the 2020 action plan and the 2024 consolidated plan.
Yes, council. This, what we're asking for is approval for our 2020 to 2024 consolidated plan and the 2020 action plan. The consolidated plan establishes the priorities and serves as a guide for the allocation of the CDBG funds for the next 5 years. The priorities in the plan were established based on citizen input, community meetings, public hearings, input from nonprofit agencies, and a community-wide survey. The priorities are in the following categories. We have housing, we have public facilities, public services, community development and infrastructure, and economic development. In the housing category, high priorities are listed as construction of affordable housing, minor home repair assistance, and emergency housing. We also have categories for medium need and low need in the housing activities. On public services, the high priorities are for youth centers, child care centers, community centers, and healthcare facilities. Also, we had meeting priorities identified through the survey. On public service, our high priorities were mental health services, internet services, youth services, senior services, and substance abuse services. Also, again, there were a medium and low priority needs identified. On the community development and infrastructure category, street improvements, drainage improvements, demolition of unsafe structures, and water and sewer improvements, as well as fair housing, were identified as a high need. In economic development, job training was identified as a high need for the community. Based on these priorities, we established goals for the next 5 years. To preserve existing housing stock, we anticipate we will be able to rehab or renovate 25 homes. We want to expand home ownership opportunities and provide assistance to 5 households. Expand the number of new and affordable homes. We expect to do 3 housing units using our home grant. In public facilities improvements, we want to provide funding for projects to assist at least 100 people. Public services, we want to provide services to another 100 people. And on the community development infrastructure, we anticipate we will remove at least 75 buildings in the next 5 years. The 2020 action plan is the first year implementation strategy of the 5-year plan. This was developed based on the allocation of the CDBG and home funds during the July 14th council meeting. The action plan establishes the first year's goals for the city. And we are asking for, I believe you all have been provided copies of both the consolidated plan and the action plan. And we will be asking you to approve those plans so we can submit them to HUD for their review and final approval. And I will answer any questions you may have.
Any questions? Okay, the item 12 is actually considering the approval of the 2019 plan. Any questions? Go ahead. Go ahead, Maria.
This is an amendment to the 2019 plan. That's the last one.
Okay.
Okay, we've already it was approved last year.
Yeah, but it's an amendment to it.
To it, yes, sir.
Any questions from Rita on any of these two? Okay, thank you, Marita.
Okay.
13 is consider an election administrator contract for the general municipal election. Ms. Grimaldo.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. This contract is the regular contract that we have for election services when we contract with the Ector County Elections Administrator. We're probably expecting the budget around $65,000, which includes additional necessary equipment and supplies needed for the social distancing, and also the additional early voting centers that the Governor Abbott, he added to the additional days of early voting. So you will have the contract for you to review. It is currently in legal as the elections administrator just handed that to me late Friday.
Okay, any questions for Norma? Norma, just a question on elections. I know other counties have updated machines and things. Is that something that's going to be looked at down the road?
Yes, yes. As a matter of fact, the machines are getting outdated, and Lisa, who's the elections administrator, has already brought that before the commissioner's court, and it's going to be pretty soon where they're going to be outdated, and the vendor's no longer going to be able to use those machines and update them. So they're going to be new purchases, and it's all there. Of course, it's going to be super expensive, and I have a feeling they're going to want the city to pitch in to help pay for those machines. But that's in the near future. Yes.
Well, just protecting our interests, can you make sure they do a trial of some sort? You know, you always hear about the ones that blow up and eat the ballots or whatever. I just don't want us to have to deal with that. Because, you know, some cities have had a lot of trouble with the new machines.
Yes, sir. I will tell them that we'll want to be involved as far as whenever they get to that point.
Okay. Any questions for Norma? Okay. I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So move.
Your second. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Yeah. Now adjourned. Thank y'all very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
1:30.
1:30.
1:30.